Not short hair, but like arm hair on her legs. She is not wearing shorts, but her pants are rolled up at the ankle a bit, and you can see the hair. Story 1. If you are talking about physical attraction, most heterosexual men I know would say that they actively find it unattractive. If you were just talking about going about my day and I saw a random woman with unshaven legs, I would not care. Story 2. I do not need to be sexually attracted to every woman on the planet. I would not judge or even think about it. Women have hair. I am not surprised. Story 3. Same thing I think of when I see men with tattoos and 2-foot scraggly beards. Not for me, but none of my business. I have better things to devote my time and resources to. Story 4. It's not my preference in terms of attraction, but unless I am in a relationship with her, I do not think about it at all because it is none of my business. Women should not have to walk around worrying about what random men think about their bodies. Story 5. I do not care. However, I also do not pretend that social norms have not had an effect on me and everyone else. We were taught what correct performative masculinity and femininity are from a young age, and that is hard to deprogram. Story 6. Catches me off guard. Ditto for underarm hair. It's not that I particularly care. It's that it's unusual enough that I do a double take and then feel guilty about reacting at all to something that should be utterly mundane. Story 7. I honestly couldn't care less. I am a massage therapist and have seen and felt it all. What I find amusing is the women who profusely apologize to me, a man, for not shaving their leg hair that day because they did not know they would be massaged by a man. Guess what? I did not shave today either, and I do not care. If you do not want to shave, just own the look and say you hate razor burn or whatever. Skin as smooth as silk only feels good against someone else who has a similar feel, if that is their preference. I have massaged thousands of women, and most of them just blend together. I cannot remember everyone I have touched. The people I remember most are the women with very hairy legs. I am sort of into that freedom they enjoy. Story 8. I would not think much of it, to be honest. I know plenty of women who do not consistently shave their legs, especially when they typically show them in the winter. I am certainly not one to judge, as a man who is very hairy and does not like to shave unless absolutely necessary. Story 9. If it is just a flash of hair that was supposed to be covered, I will probably assume she was being lazy about a regular shaving routine and think nothing of it. If she is hairy and not hiding it, I think good for her, because I find confidence attractive. I will not think more on it unless we are in a relationship. Story 10. I honestly don't care. Even if we are dating, I really don't mind. I want the person I'm with to feel good about themselves and comfortable. If that is shaved, then great. If that is hairy, cool. The one thing I don't understand is people saying it is gross. We all grow hair. If they shower, it is clean. Why is it gross? Are you gross because you are covered in hair? Story 11. I'm a little surprised. It is just not a cultural norm where I live. I do not have a negative opinion of hairy legs on women if that is what you are getting at. Personally, I find it strange that the practice of shaving body hair became so widespread. But humans do strange things. Story 12. Variety is the spice of life. I mean, as long as she does not currently have or ideally never had a penis, I am okay. Story 13. I tend to like it. Comfort over vanity, and I genuinely like the contact with basic body hair. Of course, everything within moderation. I am not fond of beards. Story 14. My first thought is, oh, her legs are not shaved. She must not care about what others think. That is impressive. And then I move on. Story 15. I shave my legs maybe twice a year. I have red hair, so while my hair is pretty light, it is still noticeable. I truly do not care who finds it unattractive. I think it is silly that women are supposed to shave. Story 16. I get it. I don't like unshaven legs on women. However, it is all relative. The real reason I don't like it is because it is the social norm in my culture. But if I lived in a culture where no women shaved their legs, and my choices were women with hairy legs or celibacy, I would have to get used to having hairy legs rub up against me. Side note, I am reading a book that takes place in the early 1950s. A group of women are envious of another woman's legs because the hair on her legs is straight. Story 17. We would not notice unless it was very obvious. There has never been a day in my life when I noticed a woman's leg hair that I was not attracted to. Story 18. It is her choice, and I think it is cool that she is choosing to keep the hair instead of giving in to the pressure that can make women feel like they must shave it. Besides, I think body hair is natural and just a mammal characteristic. Story 19. Is it cold where and when you are? If she has been wearing pants for the last month, or I do not know how long it takes them to grow, it says literally nothing about her. The exposure is not intentional. Otherwise, I can appreciate her courage. Though it is not my business, so it is very much at the back of my mind. Story 20. My family has a lot of Italian heritage. Long dark arm and leg hair is pretty common. I have a personal preference for the smooth-shaved look, but I am not bothered if someone does not want to do it. It is something I would discuss with my partner as a preference that would make intimate time more special and enjoyable to me, but not something that matters to someone I am not involved with romantically. However, you are literally talking about it while someone is wearing pants. Most people do not make a habit of looking at strangers' ankles like a person in the 1700s. Most will not even notice. Of those who do, even fewer will actually care. Story 21. Nothing, just observe it. Like, ooh, I'm outside. There are leaves on the trees. It's just a fact. People exist. Story 22. One teacher at school had long leg hair. We used to mock her when she was not near. But then another teacher overheard us and explained that she had a skin condition and could not shave. An allergy to razor blades or something similar. We did not investigate. She almost always wore pants to hide it. We stopped talking about it afterward. Now my girlfriend sometimes does not shave her legs, and I honestly do not care. She is amazing, and she does not become less amazing if she is fluffy. She will shave it the next day before going out in shorts or a short skirt. Story 23. I have never noticed hair on a woman's legs in my entire life, unless it is my girlfriend and I am touching those legs. Then I do not care because she is my girlfriend and allows me to touch her. Story 24. If it is just some random person, I would not think anything of it beyond maybe noticing it. If it is someone I am dating or hoping to date, I am not going to let leg hair get in the way of that, even if shaved is my preference. It is a loose preference. Story 25. Not much. I have spent most of my social life around left-leaning circles, and this kind of thing is fairly common. It is just normal to me. I think about it as much as I think about women who do not wear makeup, which is barely at all. The whole idea of women being expected to shave their legs is extremely recent, historically speaking. It is a social construct that you learn as you grow up, and that means it is not an essential truth about women, just a fashion. You do not have to buy into it. Story 26. I do not mind. If anything, the natural look is somewhat attractive. The same applies to armpits. The only time body hair would bother me is if there is an excessive amount of pubic hair. I want to be able to be intimate with you comfortably. Story 27. Seeing all the comments, it looks like you have not received an honest answer yet, so I will provide one. I think it is a big turnoff. Story 28. She is free to do what she wants. I am free to think it is weird and gross. She is free to not care about my opinion. Story 29. I will find you unattractive. The overwhelming vast majority of men and women in the country where I live will also find you unattractive. This is one of those questions where Reddit is much more accepting than society at large. Story 30. Nobody is describing the actual nightmare scenario here. Shaved is great. Unshaved is acceptable but not a deal breaker. Sharp, prickly stubble that shreds the flesh from your inner thigh when she rubs her legs against you like a medieval torture device is definitely not okay. Story 31. Honestly, I think, damn, have I been conditioned to have an opinion about that? I am not really proud of that opinion. Story 32. My wife grew her armpit hair for a while once and just didn't bother shaving. It didn't bother me at all. I am not sure how I would feel about the legs, though. Ultimately, it would be her decision, and I love her regardless. Story 33. My preference is shaved legs and armpits, but I have never been bothered by it. My wife is a chubby half-Italian woman and does not shave at all, and it does not bother me. She does not like shaving, but she knows my preference, so she will occasionally get a full wax. Story 34. If she is my girlfriend, she can do whatever she wants. I may express a preference, but that is it. If she is not my girlfriend, why would I even care to notice at all? Story 35. I have a fiancé, so I do not really care what others do. That said, it would not be my preference to date someone who does not shave. Story 36. Nice. That woman seems to have a healthy relationship with her body and is not as affected by unhealthy borderline insane beauty standards as most women. I should talk to her. She seems cool. Story 37. I had a girlfriend who was obsessed with shaving her legs, and she said it was because she liked it that way. I didn't mind and actually preferred some fuzz on her legs. In my case, it would be a plus if we were getting intimate and she let me touch her legs. Otherwise, I would be thinking leg hair, and go about my day. Story 38. Outside of Reddit's liberal echo chamber, a study has already answered this question, with 95% of the participants preferring shaven women. Story 39. Personally, I am not a fan of a lot of body hair. I even shave my legs and other areas for that exact reason. If I am not willing to accept it for myself, why would I accept it from a partner? I would not try to change them, but I am not going out with them either. This is just my personal preference. I know some men who are really into body hair. Story 40. Not that I think I would notice, but if I did, then it would be a clear indicator to me that she is probably highly confident, which is one of the most important traits I look for in a woman. Story 41. First, I thought you said armpit hair, and I was like, I would be thinking, wow, that's a hairy leg. A normal amount of hair? I probably wouldn't think about it at all. Story 42. The overwhelming consensus is that we do not like them, but at the same time, we do not care. Story 43. I would say, dang, there is a person doing whatever they please with their body and does not need my input. Then I would leave and live my own life. Story 44. It is unusual that society expects a woman to shave her legs and considers that the norm rather than the other way around. I do have a preference for smooth legs, though. Smooth legs feel nice when we are cuddled up. That said, it is a preference but not a deal breaker. Edit. I was impaired when I typed this, but I stand by it. Story 45. It depends on the woman overall. If I like her, I couldn't care less about a minor detail. An ex of mine had hairy armpits and legs. I was so in love back then that I would be lying naked with her, chatting and playing with the hair happily. Honestly, it was the best relationship I had. Story 46. I am trying to imagine a scenario where I am looking up a woman's pant leg and seeing hair, but I just cannot put myself there. Story 47. As a man, probably a bit like, oh, what the heck? That's not something I see often. Then maybe after 5 seconds, oh, not my legs and not my life, all the power to her. And then go back to my business. Story 48. I was in the army in Germany from 1988 to 1991. I rode on a train by myself to Normandy with a very lovely French girl who had dark hair and eyes. She had very fine but dark and dense hair on her legs. First, I was a bit taken aback, but we hung out all week in Normandy. On the third day, she told me to get out of the hotel and stay at her place. I wasn't taken aback. Story 49. If she is a stranger or someone I am not romantically involved with, it is none of my business. If she is my girlfriend, then we have a problem. Story 50. But let me guess. Another female Reddit user of unknown physical appearance and mental stability, or desperate male Reddit user bashing men's opinions on Ask Men. Story 51. Honestly, I have absolutely no reason to think about this. I have much better things to do in life than to complain. Also, why complain if you have leg hair yourself? Those so-called alpha males will say, oh no, but I am a man. Just please be quiet. They only complain and spread false ideals because they get rejected by every girl. Story 52. Am I dating her? If not, then I don't care. I am not a fan of body hair. Not on me and not on my significant other. What other people do with their body, life, health, etc. is not my business. Story 53. I see a woman who thinks for herself, and just that alone attracts me. I also know that she is going to have a beautiful appearance. I become excited just thinking about it. Story 54. I've recently heard something that sums up my position pretty well. How much body hair do you like on women? Any amount that makes her happy. Story 55. That would be the least of my worries in life right now. Seeing a woman with hairy legs is at the bottom of the list of things on my mind. The top priority goes to my upcoming physics test and English quiz. Story 56. In my experience, it is generally a very specific type of woman, and I do not particularly enjoy being around them. I would not say anything. I am not that stupid. Story 57. I don't have a habit of staring at women's legs, so I usually don't notice. If I do notice, I don't care. Story 58. There was a moment back in the late 1960s or early 1970s when I saw many women with hairy legs wearing pantyhose or nylons. The dark black hair matted together, creating a swirling pattern on their legs that stood out and attracted attention. I was not a fan, but to each their own. Story 59. On a random woman, probably a hippie. Regarding my partner, I would not complain, but if she asked about it, I would say I do not like it, which I do not. Is it a deal breaker? No. Am I usually someone who talks about questions? Also no. Story 60. Personally, I think it is hot because I like my woman to be natural. I am a natural guy. I hate how society has become so automated and is constantly searching for perfection they will never find. At the end of the day, we are animals. The only thing keeping us from being wild animals is laws, societies, and religions. Story 61. First thought. Nice. Second thought. Who cares? It is not like they have a reason to shave. Third thought. Does the carpet match the drapes? Is that also unshaved or is it trimmed? Forget it, who cares? Story 62. In regards to a random woman, it is not a huge deal, but in a relationship, it would be a significant turnoff. I do not expect the woman to be shaved all the time, but it is something I really dislike. Story 63. I think extra sensations are interesting. I have never been bothered by stubbly legs with any of my partners. I actually quite like the stubbly texture. Story 64. She is very comfortable with her body, and I have a lot of respect for women who go against the shaving paradigm. I do not think it makes sense for any human to try to emulate a Barbie doll. Story 65. Honestly, leg hair, pubic hair, or armpit hair, whatever, it does not really matter as long as your personal hygiene is on point. If you are very earthy and have an odor along with large amounts of body hair, then it can be a little off-putting. Story 66. Whatever you do, do not point it out. Regardless of how progressive and comfortable you think she is, even if you have known her for 13 years and she seems very comfortable with it and does not conform to gender norms. Story 67. I like to rub my fiancé's arm hair while we watch movies. It is not my preference, but it is comforting when I am anxious. Story 68. I do not care, usually. The one exception is if she has Sean Connery playing James Bond in the 1960s level body hair, then I would prefer shaving. Story 69. I am a woman, and I find it odd and not great. I know there is no reason women should have to shave their legs. I know it is a completely social construct, but I still feel that way. Story 70. How much hair is considered normal for arm hair? Some women have little arm hair, while others have more. Some hair is fine, but if it is as thick as a man's leg hair, then it should be shaved. Story 71. Genuinely, I do not care. That being said, I am hairier than most men, so it would be unfair to judge. It takes a lot of work to shave, and sometimes people just do not have the energy for it. Story 72. Usually nothing. If I am already attracted to her, it makes me more interested in her. Hairy armpits are the same way. Not that it is a requirement, obviously, but I do like hairy women. Story 73. I can't imagine that I would have any kind of thought. Nothing fully formed. Certainly no words or concepts would pop into my mind. The closest I could get to explaining the reaction I would have is notice. Story 74. I think not my circus, not my monkeys. I do not care what some woman does, but it is not going to involve me. Story 75. No reaction. If I don't shave mine, why care about others? I tried once, and it looked like I survived a slasher movie. Story 76. I can't speak for all men, but fully grown out hairy underarms and legs are not my husband's preference. However, a missed shave or two is not going to be a problem during our fun time. He prefers spontaneous enjoyment and enthusiastic engagement with stubbly me rather than waiting for a perfectly groomed moment. Shaving takes time, and I think it is common for women to not bother on days when they are not wearing shorts or dresses. Story 77. I'm embarrassed to admit it's a total turn-off for me. I think society has conditioned me too much, and although I try my best to break free, hairy legs on a woman are just too much. Story 78. Nothing. But in a woman I am attracted to or interested in pursuing, it is an instant turn-off. The responses on all this seem like they are from bots. Story 79. Honestly, I do not think of anything at all because I really do not care. Now, if she was in a bikini and looked like a Sasquatch, I might think, not the best look. But then, I think that about a lot of things. Men in black socks and sandals, comb-overs, tank tops on men. Story 80. I feel the same way when I do not trim my beard. They were probably too lazy or tired at the moment. Story 81. I usually do not notice. I am too busy thinking about my own life to spend any processing power thinking about the hair on some random stranger's legs. Story 82. I literally never notice. Like 99.99% of the women I have met who were self-conscious about their leg hair might as well have had none for me. A hairy woman's leg is still very different from a hairy man's leg. Story 83. If arm hair were on the legs. But leg hair is typically longer than arm hair in men and women, right? Story 84. My thought would be, those are hairy legs. Then I would go on my way. Nothing negative, nothing positive. Story 85. That she is just relaxing or may have a medical condition. Lately, whenever I see something out of the ordinary, I just assume either mental illness or medical condition and resume minding my business. Having an opinion on everything wastes a lot of mental energy. Story 86. I think you should do you, girl. Would I be attracted to it? No, my preference is shaved legs, but I would not judge someone or think worse of them for it. Humans have hair. It is natural. Story 87. I don't think any man will notice until they have to touch. However, I do believe other women will notice and will probably judge. It is up to you, really. Story 88. If it is just a stranger, I would briefly find it odd, then go about my day. If it was a potential partner, then that would be a turn-off and a deal-breaker. Story 89. Absolutely nothing. We do not have to have an opinion on everything, and if you do have an opinion, that is fine. Just do not voice it if it is none of your business. Story 90. I probably would not give it a second thought if she were wearing pants. She obviously has not been able to shave or chose not to for a long time and was wearing pants instead. Now, if she were wearing shorts, then it would seem odd to me. Story 91. Not really an issue to me. As long as it's not longer than the hair on her head. I'm almost indifferent. A couple of ladies I was with one night decided to do some light sensual touching between ourselves, no sexual petting, and it was mostly from them, teasing me. But I did briefly touch one girl's leg. I said, smooth. And then she said she hadn't shaved her legs recently. I took no offense to that. Even to this day, I still thought it was smooth, no stubble or anything. I didn't see much that would make me think she was unkempt. Then again, it was a bit dark in the bar that evening. Story 92. I mean, it's not my preference, but I don't expect a random woman I see on the street to be dressed up. I only ever shave my beard. I can't imagine how long it takes for women to shave their legs. I'm not going to judge someone for not doing it. Story 93. I'm demisexual, so I don't mind either appearance, shaven or unshaven, but I do think unshaven legs look more natural. Story 94. I do not care. I am not shaving my face every day, and it is quite absurd that society thinks women need to shave their legs every day. Story 95. Several years ago, I made a date with a woman I met at the roller rink. The plan was that she would come to my place first. She knocked on my apartment door, and I opened it. I welcomed her and offered her a seat on my futon couch. She was wearing a mini skirt. When she sat down, the skirt slid up, revealing thick, dark hair all over her legs. Much more than I had on my own legs. I became worried that I might have misunderstood and was about to date a transgender person. I politely declined going out with her and made some excuses. True story. Story 96. I will instantly think of that competition in the Yukon. In a word, confidence. Story 97. Most women's arm hair, in my experience, is nothing but peach fuzz, and very few men would have any reason to complain about that on a woman's legs unless they were touching the entire length and breadth of them. Definitely some women out there have furry forearms, though, and that is not going to be a great look on legs either. Story 98. I wonder how any man could want to touch her legs or any other part of her if she is attracted to men and allows touching. Story 99. My leg hair is thin and blonde, so no one can see it unless they are very close. I rarely shave because it is too much hassle. I believe more women should not worry about their body hair, and more men should stop commenting on it. Story 100. No. When I was in college, I dated a basketball player. She lived in a dorm with a shared common space. One of the girls from the other side was heavyset, and it was quite obvious that she shaved her legs while sitting on the toilet. How do I know that? Because she only wore short skirts, and the backside of her legs, up close to her buttocks, was hairier than a hirsute wildebeest, in an oval pattern. Story 101. I usually say, ew, gross inside my head and then never think about it again. It is the same with armpit hair. Story 102. Depends on what else they look like. Some I can tell are just hippies, and they embrace the full hair. Either way, it doesn't matter. They choose how they look. That's up to them and does not impact me at all. Story 103. My city is building a brand new apartment complex. To build it, they set up a 200-foot-tall crane that I drive by on my commute to work. I found out about it this morning when my dad told me. It has been up for about a week. My point is that if I did not notice that, do you think I would notice whether or not some lady's legs had hair? Story 104. I do not really care about it, to be honest. Whether she is attractive to me depends more on body size than other factors. Story 105. I think, she is probably just as tired of shaving her legs as I am of shaving my face. I bet she would be fun to have a beer with. Story 106. I hate that I am like this because it feels like such a double standard, but I personally cannot deal with it. It is unfounded and completely unfair, but it is the truth. Story 107. My wife shaves only occasionally. She often has hair on her legs. I really enjoy it. Her legs feel much softer when the hair is fully grown. No estubre. Story 108. My wife only shaves occasionally. She has hair on her legs more often than not. I really enjoy it. Her legs feel much softer when the hair is fully grown in. No estubre. Story 109. My girl goes long periods without shaving her legs when she takes a break from work. Can get really long after a few weeks. It is fun to play with. I like the tactile sensation. Story 110. I think those are legs with hair on them. I prefer shaved legs on everyone. That is just my personal preference. However, everyone should do exactly what they like with their own bodies. Body hair is completely natural in all places. Story 111. It would just be unexpected. Shaving your legs is annoying. Side note. I strongly recommend a Henson razor for shaving your legs. It is amazing. Story 112. Unless I am invited to share the goodies, I have no opinion whatsoever. If I am invited to share the goodies, I prefer smooth and silky, but willingness more than compensates. Story 113. Do I find her attractive and might get intimate? Then I do not care. Do I find her attractive but absolutely will not get intimate? I do not care. Do I not find her attractive in any way and not even going to try to get intimate? I do not care. It is boy hair. Get over it. Story 114. I do not care for leg hair or armpit hair on women, but I do not need to be attracted to every woman I see. Also, women are definitely not obligated to care what I think is attractive. Story 115. It is still spring, and she was not expecting to show off her legs. She does not bother with it and does not have much hair anyway. There are strange political reasons for having hair. Could be a lot of things. Story 116. Personally, I am completely put off by it. However, I am married and my wife shaves, so what other women do has nothing to do with me. Story 117. Not my body, I have no say. It is your choice to shave or not, and on the occasion I do see it in public, that is the exact thought process that crosses my mind. Noshchav. Anywho. Story 118. What is there even to think? Oh, she has hairy legs. On with my day. I do not care in the nicest possible way. Story 119. If it is a woman I am attracted to, it often makes me wonder if she has pubic hair because that is my preference. Story 120. Honestly, I prefer unshaven legs. There is no stubble, and the hair on women is barely noticeable anyway. If women do not feel like shaving, it does not matter. Story 121. To be honest, I probably think, oh, that's different. But I personally do not care and have been attracted to women regardless of the hair on their legs. Story 122. If I can still see skin, I would not mind. If the hair was so thick I could not, that might be a bit much. But really, I do not care. We are all mammals. Story 123. Who cares? Humans are mammals. We all have hair. Personally, I find this obsession many people have with women being hairless strange. I am not constantly looking at women and thinking about whether or not I find them attractive. Women do not exist to be visually pleasing to me at all times. Stop asking these questions. People need to be more concerned with why these questions are even being asked. Does it really matter what a random man thinks of your hairy legs, arms, armpits, or pubic area? The only person's opinion that matters regarding a woman's personal body hair choices is her own. Even her partner does not get to dictate that. Stop obsessing over body hair. If someone's body hair makes them unattractive to you, you are incredibly shallow. It's honestly strange at this point. Story 124. I really don't like it. To me, it looks dirty and unkempt. It also gives me an indication of their political beliefs, namely radical feminist, which for me is an enormous turnoff. Story 125. I do not really think much about it. It is none of my business. In terms of attractiveness, hairiness is a matter of degree. I have seen men who look like they are wearing a thick sweater of hair when they take off their shirts, and I do not care for it. Leg hair on women does not bother me, but like many things, there are limits. I probably would not be attracted to very hairy legs, but how a woman decides to keep her legs is up to her. Story 126. If it is a woman that I am interested in, why would I care? I am hairy. If she can deal with it, then so can I. Story 127. I am a married man, so I do not pay attention to what other women look like. If I notice at all, it would be a brief, surface-level thought, and then I go about my day. Story 128. It is not attractive to me. I know that in other countries that is normal, but I would not be interested in her at all. Story 129. I think the way we manage hair in Western society is pretty ubiquitous in opinion. Women should have less hair everywhere except their head. Men can be hairy, but at managed levels. We all just decided that at some point, and our collective imagery has perpetuated it. You pull any random person off the street, you should expect this opinion. Personally, I subscribe. Maybe it's how I was raised, maybe it's a disposition. Hairy legs on a woman is like a totally unshaved beard on a man, in my opinion. It's a way we signal that we care about how we look to most people. It's not really a deal breaker, but it's a microcosm of opinions that are likely deal breakers. People who find it necessary to rebel against these norms are pretentious and absorbed about it. It's like being vegan. You can be vegan and not incredibly insufferable or latch onto a whole other constellation of beliefs, but it's common enough that I enter the interaction with a side eye. All that being said, this is the sort of thing you process in 2 seconds and move on with. Oh, she doesn't shave her legs, probably one of those. Noted. Anyways, most people would go on with a guilty until proven innocent mentality. I tend to do innocent until proven guilty. But I would be lying if I said that the former crowd gets things wrong more often. Story 130. It really depends on how we are defining unshaven legs. Are we talking about seeing myself in a bikini, or are we talking about light peach fuzz? A super hairy woman is generally not attractive to men. If it were, I would probably have tried dating a man. Story 131. If she grows very little hair, I think, damn, she is so feminine. If she grows a lot of hair, I think, she is essentially a man. Story 132. As a woman, seeing that on another woman, I would think it is unattractive. However, whenever I see long armpit hair on anyone, I will ask them what the name of the hamster is that lives in their armpit. It is strange and unsettling. Story 133. Depends on the context, but I do not find it attractive. I would not actively feel grossed out or anything. It is just not my preference. Story 134. I read it as shaved at first. I do not think twice about that, but if I saw a girl with hairy legs, it would be a bit of a turnoff. If you are not managing your leg hair, what else are you struggling to manage? Story 135. I don't like it, but I'm not going to tell a woman what to do or stop dating a woman who lets it grow. I personally like the touch and the look of a woman's shaved legs. But it is what it is. Women have hair. It happens. Story 136. I think next men are expected to have certain physical, social, and financial attributes to be considered dateable or even acknowledgeable. Story 137. Is she a potential partner? So not for me. If not, why should I care what another person does with their body? Story 138. I do not think about it, but I did notice it. I do not like it though. I am a man and I shave my leg because it looks nice. So I probably will not like it if my girlfriend has leg hair. But it is not the end of the world, so I probably will not care. Story 139. I think there is a woman who is not buying into the societal norms of what a woman should and should not do. Then I assume she is a lesbian. Story 140. I dated a raven-haired lady for a long time who never shaved anything. It was the most glorious, soft peach fuzz. She did groom her armpits and pubic hair, though. Story 141. This is like asking what happens if a man is just sitting there in shorts with no hair on his legs. Oh no, what shall we do? Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.